No wonder you have so few friends, Lord. You treat them all so badly. That famous phrase from St. Teresa of Avila. No wonder you have so few friends, Lord. You treat them all so badly. Probably we all know the feeling of St. Teresa of Avila when she famously uttered those words. We know those feelings. Sometimes those who serve the Lord can seem to receive more than their fair share of suffering. Sometimes God's friends do suffer. One friend of God was the prophet Jeremiah. We heard his suffering in our first reading today. Jeremiah is overwhelmed at the time with the difficulty of the task that God gave to him, sent as God's mouthpiece to an obstinate people. Jeremiah finds himself prophesying to people who will not listen to him, to people who ridicule him, to people who even attempt to punish him for what he says. In fact, they do punish him for what he says. So Jeremiah, in our first reading today, muses that he will speak about the Lord no more. Don't we know that feeling? No wonder you have so few friends, Lord. You treat them so badly. And the prophet Jeremiah, who bemoans his fate in our first reading. Jeremiah says, I'm just going to mind my own business. But Jeremiah then comes to understand that he has to do what he has to do. A fire, when he stops speaking about the Lord, a fire wells up within him. He is unable to stop. Jeremiah says, it becomes burning within me, and this fire propels him to continue to be the prophet of the Lord. This fire of God's love, which Jeremiah knew, maybe we can say that that can be likened to the Holy Spirit given to us. God's Holy Spirit, who gives us strength to undertake the challenges, the same strength that was given to Jeremiah. But it's not only the friends of God who suffer. God's own Son suffered as well. Jesus shared in our gospel reading the anguish that is in his heart. As he tells the disciples, he is going to Jerusalem and prophesies his rejection, suffering, and death. That is what awaits him there. Rejection, suffering, and death. But St. Peter is surprised at these words of Jesus, and he seeks to shield Jesus even from the very thought of any such suffering on the part of Jesus Christ. Peter, remember, is working from his own concept of who the Messiah would be. The Messiah, in Peter's mind at this time, would be a conquering hero who was going to set Israel free and establish an earthly kingdom. But Jesus rebukes Peter sharply. The same Peter who was declared the rock of the church last week in our gospel is now a different kind, a stumbling stone in the way of God's desire. Now, in his humanity, surely Jesus Christ shrinks away from the suffering that he will have to endure. After all, in the Garden of Gethsemane, doesn't he say, let this cup pass? But Jesus is more than willing, and he does embrace the cross because of his love for the Father, because of his love for you and me. Within the heart of Christ burns the fire of love, love for the Father and accomplishing his will, love for you and for me, and accomplishing our salvation. The cross appears in my life and in your life as well. Sometimes the cross slips in very small and predictable ways. Bad weather, aches and pains of age, sacrifices and suffering we endure for family and friends and those whom we love. But sometimes the cross comes in devastating forms. A catastrophic hurricane, serious illness, or the death of a loved one. How easy Christianity would be without the cross. But then, my brothers and sisters, it would not be Christianity. And we would be removed from the very heart of God, which is where suffering endured faithfully places us, even if it is hard to feel or to understand that reality. Suffering places us very close to the heart of God. Our great love for Jesus Christ is expressed in the way that we embrace the cross. Jesus shows us that his great love for us is expressed in accepting the cross. And we are called upon to show our great love for Jesus Christ by picking up our cross and following in his footsteps. Jeremiah and St. Peter had to set aside their own expectations to understand the power of embracing God's will, which is an expression of their love for him. Jeremiah and Peter had to open their minds and their hearts to examine things from the perspective of God's thinking and not their own. My dear friends, rooting ourselves in gospel values and in the teachings of the church, we are continually challenged today to discern God's will and how we are called and challenged to deal with one another. To deal with one another in responding to the ongoing pandemic and our concern for the health of others. We are called to discern God's will in our reaching out to those affected by hurricanes, other natural disasters, and asking how we are going to respond to climate change. Rooting ourselves in gospel values and the teachings of the church, we have to continue to seek to respond to violence and hatred, especially as it has broken out in response to racial injustice in cities across our country. We have to root ourselves in gospel values and the teachings of the church as we continue to seek to embrace God's will in responding to those who continue to be affected by the evil and the sin of racism. These are ways today, my dear friends, that we are challenged to be like Jeremiah, to be like St. Paul, to be like Jesus Christ in embracing God's will and accepting the cross and the challenges as they present themselves to us. But we know that the cross and responding to challenges according to what God asks of us is what we as followers of Jesus Christ are called upon to do. And the Lord, through the power of the Holy Spirit, is with us in these efforts. It wells up within us, the power of the Holy Spirit, just as it welled up in Jeremiah. When we embrace God's will, follow in the footsteps of the Messiah, which leads us to the cross, We show ourselves to be friends of the Lord, good friends of the Lord, and as necessary, we walk the way of the cross that leads us to life. In our second reading today, St. Paul ends in this way. Do not conform yourselves to this age, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind, that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and pleasing and perfect. May we be transformed by the renewal of our minds and our hearts, rooted in Scripture and in the teachings of the Church, accomplish the will of God, which we know, as St. Paul tells us, is good and pleasing and perfect. Amen.